Assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you. You're tuned into the Sajdah Wendy Muhammad YouTube channel, and this is our morning coffee talk. And today we're going to be talking about how to eat to live, but most importantly, why you should eat to live. We'll see you in a few. We'll give the algorithm time to let all of you know that we're in the room. Like, subscribe, share, tell a friend, and we'll be back in about 2 to 3 minutes.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee. And he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee. And I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Welcome to our morning coffee talk. Although today I don't have coffee talk, I got some refreshing cucumber water. That's what I'm doing today. Hydrating with a little cucumber and lemon water. Just fresh organic cucumbers that I got from the farmer's market, cutting it up, putting them in some water, just drinking in some of that hydration. How is everyone doing today? Happy Independence Day. Happy Independence Week. For those of us in the Nation of Islam, we had a beautiful prayer service yesterday. I hope you all were able to attend. If you didn't get to see it, I would strongly suggest you go back and see it. Today, listen, y'all, we can't be conscious entrepreneurs unless we're conscious about our health. We got to live to get these businesses going and to build this economy. And the thing is, for most of us, by the time we're 50 years old, we just start figuring stuff out. We can't start breaking down and get sick. And a lot of us by 60 are on our way out the door. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that 70 years old is a baby. So we should be taking care of our body and taking care of this vessel. And we got to stop depending on a capitalist-driven healthcare system to take care of us. And so some of y'all going, oh God, here she go. Elijah Muhammad again. Minister Farrakhan again, blah, blah, blah. I can't apologize for it. What's right is right. What's wrong is wrong. And we're talking about wisdom here. And so I'm going to dive right in. And I want to start with this. Let me tell y'all something. About 14 years ago, I was working really hardcore, traveling as a business consultant. And I met what became my business partner, Dr. Jeffrey Dormo. I actually met him through this show. So for a lot of y'all who look at the platform and be like, I don't know why she do that. Don't nobody watch it. Look, so he was one of my very first guests on the show back then, talking about health. And I learned so much about health. I knew things in theory before I started working with him. I didn't really understand the warfare that takes place against people like him that are trying to get us healthy and get us off of this so-called healthcare system. I didn't learn it until I started working with him. And let me tell you something. It was an eye-opener. A serious eye opener. I ended up working closely with him as a partner with the vascular surgery centers. I ended up getting an honorary doctorate degree. I mean, I studied and I was in the trenches. I was in the patients, out into the patients. I was dealing with the smells. I was dealing with all of it. Okay. But one of the things that I saw is I was shocked at how sick we are as a people. And y'all know I couldn't help but keep going back to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and what he taught us and what he said about health. So before I dive into that, I'm also going to do a shameless plug so you all can see the hospital that your sister was the lead builder and developer. And prior to working on the museum, I was an owner, one of the owners of the hospital, along with Dr. Dormo, who you're going to see in this video. But what we really developed and what I learned to put together was a healthcare system that's outside of the traditional system, that's very much in alignment with how to eat to live. It was a really big blessing for me. It wasn't something I planned on, although as a little girl, I wanted to own a hospital. I had no idea that just by taking him on as a client, that I was getting ready to be a hospital developer. We built 4 clinics, a wellness center, and then a micro hospital. And I was the lead builder and designer on all of that. And being able to put that practice into paper and then building was a level of development and manifestation that I learned hands-on and firsthand. So going in the patient rooms with them, seeing the interactions with the patients, watching the surgery, and then reducing that to writing and saying, let's put together processes, systems, policies, procedures, and let's build something around what it is that can change lives. And our focus was on cardiovascular disease, primarily diseases of the arteries, veins, and lymphatic systems. Okay. A lot of focus on diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, people being overweight. 90% of our patients smoke. Okay. Um, and so there's a lot of talk nowadays out here about diabetes because a lot of people are taking what are known as semi-glutides to lose weight. And one of the things that I learned that the doctor that I work with taught me was that a lot of the criteria or the criteria, I'll say it in layman's terms. And this is going to be a very layman's term type of conversation because I want you to get this in your brain. Sometimes what I found is that because a lot of us got the white coat syndrome, we don't really listen to doctors. Not only that, we've had to be so distrustful of doctors because of the history. It's tough for us. So this is just going to be a layperson's conversation. And I want y'all to lay back and listen to me and really understand why we got to really focus on our health. A lot of us think that if we can't be perfect, then we don't want to do it. Okay. Now let's go back to this thing with diabetes. And we'll go with diabetes and high blood pressure, but primarily diabetes and talking about that. Most of us know what diabetes is. There's probably not a Black person in the world that hasn't had a grandparent, a parent, a cousin, an auntie, or themselves is suffering from diabetes. Part of the problem is the criterion for determining whether or not you are diabetic is, according to our standards at our center and what we had at that time, are very loose. So that we would have people to come in and say, oh, I'm pre-diabetic. My doctor told me 5 years ago that I'm pre-diabetic. And then we start looking at the symptoms and what's happening to them and how they have not changed their lifestyle. They definitely don't have a copy of How to Eat to Live, book 1 and book 2. And in actuality, they're really diabetic. And so people go on in this condition for so long, and then they wait until they get, certain other symptoms. And then they say, oh, okay, yeah, all right, now you're a full-fledged diabetic. But diabetes can be turned around. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to hear a little bit from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan talking about how to eat to live. And then we're going to go with Yaki the Awake Man, who's going to talk to us in layman's terms about how to turn this thing around. I used to always say, sugar is the devil. I used to go around the office and say that sugar is the devil. When I would see people coming in with gangrenous feet, gangrenous toes, I'd never seen anything like that before. When I would see people who would have fungus all over their body because of too much sugar, not being able to process it. And once they threw their body out of whack, then all the hormones are out of whack. I'd never seen this kind of thing. I saw people coming in with sugarous ulcers coming out of different parts of their body, especially on their feet and on their legs. I saw people coming in with diabetic dementia, where they are diabetic and the diabetes has impacted their brain and they can't remember, they can't think straight. Then they go on these diabetes medications and they really are out of it. Listen, y'all, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us 70 and 80 years old are babies. And as conscious entrepreneurs, most times in this society that we live in, because most of us don't come from a background where our parents really, my parents talked to me about business, but they didn't set me up and put me right into a business. So for most of us, we're 40, 50 years old before we figure this thing out, and we can't be dying off. But what I learned in the business is that most of us have addictive behaviors. We're addicted to smoking, we're addicted to salt, and we're addicted to sugar, and it's by design. because the foods out here that we meet, they use these combinations of sugary, salty type of thing that affects the reward system in our brain. And you'll even hear people say, I can reward myself. I can have a piece of pie. I can have a piece of cake, not understanding over the long term what this has done for us. Most of us, and then this is the bad part about it, we're not even taught to look at history. We're so disrespectful of history. And y'all know I've been preaching now for the longest why we should be supporting history, why we support the preservation of things that are important to our community. Most of us don't even look at the family. If we looked at our grandparents or our parents, we could see what's going to happen to us if we keep on eating sugar. There's epigenetics in there. If we keep on eating excess salt, just look at your parents, look at your grandparents, look at your great grandparents, or look at the people around you. You pick up certain habits from how you grew up. I grew up around my parents who worked out all the time. So working out and movement is a big part of my lifestyle, because I know that if I don't do it, all I got to do is look at my grandmother and how she suffered with diabetes. All I got to do is look at her relatives and look at the amputations and things like that. It's not that far away. So the first video, we're going to look at a few videos today. Okay. Let me know in the chat how y'all doing. I'm going to shout y'all out a little bit later. I see y'all in there. Let me know if you like this conversation. Hit the like button. Give me a thumbs up. You know, you can give a love offering. You can Cash App or Zelle it. It's right here in the chat. This information today should change your life. First thing we're going to do, we used to do these monthly spotlights. So the way we marketed, we came up with this concept of marketing through education. One day, my business partner said something in a meeting and it hit me like a light bulb. This is how my brain works in business. He said, vascular devastation is rampant in our community. I'm going to put it in the chat as soon as we go to the video. And I thought, that's a marketing campaign. So we used that marketing slogan to, we trademarked it, we own the IP, and then we went into dealing with it in our marketing. So our marketing was marketing through education. So we would do these spotlights with the news where they would come out and talk to us, view the center. So you get to see a little bit of inside of the center that your sister was the primary designer and builder on. Something I'm very proud of, one of the accomplishments of my life. All right. So I want to show that to you all. We used to focus a lot on men's health because a lot of men would come in with advanced stages of cardiovascular diseases, meaning on 2 to 3 blood pressure medications, a cholesterol medication, okay? You name it. Diabetes, way down the road, clogged arteries. And the only thing that would get them in the door was erectile dysfunction. So we would say, all right, let's use that to get the brothers in here so we can help them and we can heal them. We ended up with the largest population of Black male patients that I think anybody has ever had outside of owning a men's health clinic. All right. Okay. So when I play this, give me a thumbs up if you all can hear it. I'm going to take myself off of the screen.
Is Men's Health Awareness Month, and one of the things that men should really be thinking about this time of year is their vascular health.
We're here at the Minimally Invasive Vascular Center. This center was built in 2018, the only one of its kind. Okay, there's not one that's an outpatient, unaffiliated with a hospital, a certified vascular center like this in the United States and many other countries as well.
Dr. Jeffrey Dormu is the founder, chief executive officer, and lead vascular surgeon at Minimally Invasive Vascular Center.
This is a model for a lot of other centers that are coming up now. This is a way that you can get your, see a subsurgical specialty, get evaluated, and get treated without having to go through the rigors of the hospitals.
This Men's Health Month, Dr. Dormu is calling men to action, asking them to take their vascular health seriously and be more proactive.
We tend to avoid doctors in general, especially men. Men specifically, and African American men, they run. They run the opposite way. And this is Men's Health Month, and we need to talk about men and the problems we have. We need to talk about erectile dysfunction. This is something that in some households, even in some relationships and marriage, is considered taboo. Men, this is something that we should not be ashamed of. There's over 45% of men over the age of 50 who suffer some degree of erectile dysfunction. The beautiful thing is it can be treated minimally invasively, and even more importantly, it can be properly diagnosed. Many times when we go to the urologist or a men's clinic, we're just getting treatment and we're not understanding why we're having this problem. Here at the Minimally Invasive Vascular Center, we can give you a prompt diagnosis to find out what is the cause. Sometimes it's one cause, sometimes it's many, but we can narrow it down and then we can put you on the right treatment path and take care of that erectile dysfunction problem.
Beyond ED, vascular disease and cardiovascular disease are more pressing, life-threatening issues.
Vascular disease, also coupled with cardiovascular disease, is the #1 killer in America. It kills millions of people every year. The different risk factors that are involved in vascular and cardiovascular disease is smoking, which is the #1, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, obesity, and also being over the age of 50.
Common conditions include
We've heard of lymphedema, where we see people with increased swelling of the legs, discoloration of the legs. Sometimes they actually look like tree trunks. PAD, which older populations call hardening of the arteries, is usually the common issue when it comes to the arterial circulation. And when it comes to veins, usually you have either leaking of the veins, what we call reflux disease, or a DVT, which is a clot that can lead to vascular devastation by breaking loose and going to your lungs.
That is why it is critical that men address any symptoms they are having early. Correcting them and getting back to a healthy state of being doesn't have to be scary, especially here at Minimally Invasive Vascular Center.
You don't want to wait till this vascular devastation happens, meaning stroke, erectile dysfunction, heart attack, kidney failure, or loss of a limb.
Dr. Dormu says up to 97% of cases never have to see open surgery, which used to be one of the only options for many.
We can go in without having to cut a patient, opposed to open surgery, which was pretty much the norm. It was very common, especially 5-10 years ago, and still is in some institutions. But here at the Minimally Invasive Vascular Center, we pride ourselves in fixing the circulation from head to toe without having to cut patients at all. We know that that helps in their recovery time. It helps in their quality of life. And people in general are just afraid of surgery. They can get by with minimally invasive surgery, needle puncture stick, without having to be cut, without having to worry about an amputation. And they walk in, and within hours they walk out, and pretty much heal within a matter of hours.
All right, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed that video, just to give us a little bit of context around what I'm talking about and why I am talking about it. Healthcare is such big business. I think you all have heard me talk about this. You saw them show a picture of our front entrance right there at the front desk. We literally had armed security there because of the threats, the death threats that started as soon as Dr. Dormu started to combine his knowledge with business. So he had been working and fighting for Black people. I never seen anybody fight this hard for Black people. I seen him run and help out in the ER and do it. It's incredible. And he had been in school for about 15 years. It came right out of the streets. And when I say out of the streets, for real out of the streets, like I'm not going to live like this, to becoming a double board certified, triple fellowship trained surgeon. And what a lot of the other doctors that threatened us told him was, you're Black and you're a surgeon. One of them even went so far as to say, we don't really worry about Black people that become primary care physicians. We don't even worry about y'all when y'all become ER physicians, because we know you all aren't going to change the system. This is what they said to us. Not no shade against anybody who's a primary care or ER physician, telling you what they said to us. And we were at that level where a lot of times we don't get, where we're in the multi-million dollars of developing centers. They said, but you're a surgeon and you have the ability to intervene and change lives. And we got a problem with that. And one group of doctors slid him a group of zip codes across the table and said, you can practice in these areas. I'm talking about gangster stuff. And of course, he wasn't having that, because that reminded him of the streets. He's like, you don't tell me, you don't give me no zip codes and tell me I can't see no patients from certain zip codes. Calls, threatens. We would have people leaving our front desk because they would call and threaten, say, well, what y'all gonna do when we kill them? When we were building the center, I ended up designing a system where our connections to water, electrical, and everything are on the inside of the building. We had some of the students from Muhammad University in DC come and see the engineering in the basement that I was blessed to just get a download from Allah to help put together and work really closely with the builders and the engineers to design, because they kept cutting the power off on us from the street. We got pictures of, they would vandalize our vehicles, vandalize our cars, which is what caused us to get security and have a garage. We'd come out, we had contracts with hospitals where we would go and help. I came up with a program where we work with the DC Office on Aging. And shout out to Dr. Thomas there, because he really sat down, he listened to me and he heard me and he implemented the program. So we started doing cardiovascular screenings all around the DMV area. And literally the lines would be out the door with people suffering. That's why when he said vascular devastation is rampant in our community, when I tell you it's rampant, it's rampant. A lot of it comes from our addictive behaviors, which we need this book from this man right here, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, How to Eat to Live, in order to help turn it around. I know, like I said, I know y'all like, here she go, Elijah Muhammad, Louis Farrakhan. I don't know what to tell you. I've had a lot of my business colleagues say, why do you keep talking about that? Because it's the truth and it's what's real. And so you don't have to be a Black person to learn how to eat one meal a day between the times of 4 to 6 p.m. That's what he taught us. Some people say you can eat between noon and 6, but he taught us eat one time between 4 and 6 p.m. And the best way to do it is that you just got to skip that morning meal. I come from a family where we love breakfast. And so I love having breakfast. And so breaking that habit, and sometimes we're not perfect, but it's okay. But we got to break those habits, because you got to give your body time to go into that fasting state so that it can cleanse, so that your growth hormones can reproduce and begin to fire off again, so that your body can reset and readjust. And it's not constantly focusing on digesting and wearing out the insides of your stomach, because all you're doing is digesting food over and over again. Okay. Now they call it intermittent fasting, but this was not introduced into the public until the Honorable Elijah Muhammad introduced it and popularized it in these two books, How to Eat to Live, Volume 1 and 2, which I suggest you go out and get. You do not have to be a Muslim to eat one meal a day. You do not have to be a Muslim to read it. Okay. And I'll go over some things a little bit later on what foods he took us off of, because there are certain companion foods that make us more addictive. A lot of us have really addictive mindset. If you tell us to do something, we overdo it. If you tell us eat a handful of grapes, we're going to eat a pound of grapes. You tell us to eat a handful of almonds or some kind of seeds, we're going to eat the whole bag. So we got to work on that. We got to work on decolonizing our tongue, because our tongue is colonized to the point where it's looking for those salty and sugary foods. We're looking for the stuff that's bad for us. A lot of us have children that are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, and we wonder why they're autistic, why they can't learn the way we want them to learn. And it's because all they've ever eaten is processed food. They probably came out the womb and you put them right on formula from a factory, not on the breast, not even on organic food. We put them right on formula. We put the plastic on their butts and we put them right on formula. And then we take them from formula to chicken nuggets and French fries. And so when we're feeding our children, their 100% diet is fast food. We think we're doing a little bit better by going to certain foods, but gone are the days when we're saying, hey, unless you're in the Nation of Islam, this is a lifestyle to us, where we're saying, okay, what do I need to do? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that we have to be nutritionists. We have to be doctors. That's why I'm so grateful for that 10-year, really hardcore experience in medicine, because I understand it. And if my business partner was on here, he likes having fun with people and say, Wendy, diagnose this patient. What you think? But I'm grateful for that, because that is the level of knowledge that we should have, especially as women, in taking care of our households. But nowadays, roles are reversed and mixed up. Look, men and women, we got to know nutrition. We got to know health. We got to figure out how to eat to live. But it's starting with our babies. Most of us wonder why our children have a hard time sitting still, why they can't learn, why they're struggling. A lot of that has to do with diet. And even a lot of us that say, well, yeah, I eat to live. I eat one meal a day, but we don't make our children do it. So our children are walking around with honey buns and Hostess Ho-Hos and eating those all day long, because we're like, well, they're children. Well, there's special diets for children to help support their growth. And we have to learn how to eat with the seasons. So right now, what's in season, that should be our diet. If you're going to the store and you're getting stuff in a package, in a can, and you're eating that, that's going to mess you up. A lot of us get older. We're 80 plus years old. We wonder why we can't think straight. In addition to the diabetes and all the medication and the high blood pressure and all of that has depleted us of all of our minerals and everything, we don't eat right. It's fast food all the time. And then when we do cook, we still cook in old school. Where's your vegetables? Where's your root vegetables? How are you eating to live? Are you eating the same stuff every day? Well, that's not good, because guess what? Your food that you put in your body should be nourishing your body based on what it is that you need. You all just heard me say, I'm not drinking any coffee or tea this morning. I'm having cucumber and lemon infused water. Why? Because I needed to hydrate myself. There are certain teas. If you see my kitchen, you see all these herbs and spices, and I make teas to help myself and help my body and give myself what I need. So, again, like I said, don't walk away from the knowledge. Two things. Don't be triggered by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I mean positively triggered or negatively triggered. What do I mean by that? I want you to look at the truth. Look at the truth in what they're saying and what they're teaching us when it comes to our health. Okay. Unfortunately, many of us, our health is really limited to what our insurance company will pay for. But don't get caught up. I don't want you to look at this just because it's the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I don't want you to just say, just because it's them. I want you to look at the truth and look at what's real, so that you can teach it and explain it to others who may not blindly follow them like many of us. You know, if you say the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said don't smoke, then I ain't smoking. Okay. But you know, some people don't see him like that. So they need you and I to explain it, to teach them, to be examples. People should see us looking beautiful, skin glowing. And they should be saying, man, how did you get there? Because when I tell you we are the sickest people on the planet, and I have traveled the world on healthcare missions. I've been to Korea on a health mission, Beijing, China, all over Africa, and there's nobody as sick as we are in the Black community. Nobody as sick as we are as Americans, and nobody as sick as we are in the Black community. So America is sick as a whole. We're walking around with diseases, primarily diabetes, because of the stress, and also because of the fast food and the diets and all the processed food. We got so many foods out here that are circulated in these fast food restaurants that are illegal in other countries. They're killing our babies. They can't learn in the community. They're making these fast foods, and them becoming addicted to these chemicals is putting them in a position where they're now having mental health issues, and then they're medicating. I was just talking to somebody yesterday who told me that, look, people are medicating with marijuana that they think is marijuana, but it's laced with all of this stuff. And he works in the ER. He said, we are overrun. Anyway, let me put this on, because we're gonna run out of time, and then y'all gonna be saying I gotta go. Here's the next video. It's gonna be a quick 5-minute video, but I want you all to check this one out.
But don't try to be a Popeye. He said, do not become an habitual spinach eater. Every now and then. Eat rutabaga. A little every now and then. But you may eat as much garlic and onion as you like. Garlic and onion. I mean, I know what you're thinking. See, them other foods give you a lot of kissing breath, aiding you to death. You eat a lot of garlic and onions, ain't too many want to get close. Keep you safe, honey. Garlic is a blood purifier, isn't it? It is a nerve strengthener. Onions the same. The very fiber in the onion is like the fiber that the nerve itself is made from. So onion and garlic, as much of it as you want to eat. Now look, brothers, for God's sake. No, I used to do this sometimes, you know, just take a clove of garlic, put it in my mouth. Nobody would get near me, you know what I mean, for a long time. Now they have garlic today in capsule where it doesn't offend until you belch. Now, how many of you like sweet potatoes? Yeah, I used to like sweet potatoes too, but listen, you want to know how to eat to live? Leave the sweet potato alone. Why? The sweet potato is very hard on your digestive system. It takes days to digest a sweet potato. Now, if you just like the taste of the sweet potato, you can take a carrot and you can make the carrot taste exactly like a sweet potato. And it's better for you. Now, this may sound strange, I'm telling you, but if you practice how to eat to live, I'm telling you, in 30 days, you will look better. You will feel better. You will act better. Now, just a few more. He said, no sweet potatoes and no white potatoes. Sweet potatoes were never good for any human to eat. They are good for hogs, but not for you. White Irish potatoes are a food for people who live in frigid zones, a staple food for such as Europe, Northern America, and Canada. But potatoes and rice are too starchy for you and me. They laden us with too much starch and fat, which are friends of diabetes. You want to get diabetes? Keep getting on that starch and that fat. Well, Brother Farrakhan, do you eat rice? Every day. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us how to cook the rice, where you brown it in a pan. When you brown it, you take that starch out of it by browning it. Then they boil it. Then when you eat that bad boy, it's okay. You got to start with a long grain brown rice. That's in a class, brothers and sisters, when you learn how to prepare your foods, this stir-fried madness, nothing fried. Fried food is death. Sorry about that. Fried chicken, even baked chicken. Anything that makes the surface rough and hard is not good for you. The fried food sending you away from here, clogging up your veins and arteries with fat. And as you get older, the sludge that you find in your motor, you ever notice how after you don't clean that bad boy out, the sludge deposits in your motor, so you have to have a whole complete motor overhaul. Is that right? Yeah. Well, that's what happens to your veins. All the deposits of fat and debris line your arteries and your veins, so the blood only has a little hole to go through. Then the heart got to pump harder and harder to squeeze the blood through this fat. So you overwork the heart. All of this due to improper eating of too many fried foods. I know you don't like this. Sweet potatoes are full of gas. Oh, what? Look, let me close this book.
All right, y'all. Y'all heard it. He does such a good job with giving you the bad news with nice levity, so that it could go down good. He makes the medicine taste good. All right. So that's just a little highlight of the book, How to Eat to Live. And again, I'm telling us as conscious entrepreneurs, we want to have a holistic approach. This is a community for us as conscious entrepreneurs. So we're focused on our health. We're focused on our wealth. We're focused on our spirituality. We're focused on the proper handling of people. Okay? Because if you're complaining about mistreatment, then when you become a leader and you become a ruler and you become an owner of a company, how are you going to treat people? How are you going to treat the very people who you believe hurt and devastated you? That's a whole nother subject. That's a whole nother show. All right. So again, going back to Dr. Dormu's comment, vascular devastation is rampant in our community. What does that mean? There are 6 risk factors associated with cardiovascular disease. Okay. I'm going to say them. Y'all can type them in the chat. Being overweight. We have to work on our weight, which then involves movement. For those of us who are Muslims in the nation, it's in our lessons. Some of y'all got this book. Okay, Supreme Wisdom. It talks about having what we call intermittent claudication in the vascular world, not being able to walk up the block. So we'll record it. We'll say half block claudication, meaning you can only walk a half a block before your legs start hurting and you have to stop. Or you can only walk a block. Or before you run out of breath. It's all in the lessons. See, that man we celebrated yesterday, Master Father Muhammad, taught us about this vascular devastation that is now rampant in our community 94 years ago. Being overweight, smoking, okay? Smoking. A lot of people been smoking since they're 9, 10, 11 years old. They come in and they're 40 and they say, yeah, but I smoked for 10 years, but I've stopped. Well, what the surgeons told me was that people who smoke, it makes their inside, the tissues and the vessels feel like wet toilet paper. It becomes very difficult for them to stitch, which is why a lot of surgeons won't do surgery on you if you're a smoker, if you've been smoking over a certain amount of time. So smoking is another risk factor. It's a bad, nasty habit that a lot of us have. Then they took us from smoking cigarettes and they kept us on the addiction. Then they started lacing the cigarettes with crack and LSD and PCP. People start smoking that. Then they legalized marijuana and didn't teach us the medicinal uses of the plant. So we can't go. Most of us are so addicted to the fake marijuana with the hydroponics, with all the stuff that they're infusing into it, lacing it with, that if we went to the dispensary and bought some marijuana, it wouldn't even do anything for us. We wouldn't even be happy about it. So then they brought that in, and now our emergency rooms are overrun with people who are overdosing with cancer medications that they're lacing into the marijuana. And oh my God, so much stuff. And they got all these names for it. So all of this stuff is just devastating our community, and the ages are really young. And so now I was talking to a mental health professional yesterday, and he said, look, the amount of mental health that we got to do to help people is unreal. Okay. So smoking. Okay. High blood pressure. Okay. We talked about high blood pressure. I won't go into it now because I got one more 3-minute video for you to see. High blood pressure, high cholesterol. Okay. Diabetes, and being over the age of 50. Why is that a risk factor? Because they're assuming that if for 50 years you've been eating what they told you to eat, red dye number 12 and all these things where you go and pick up the packaging at the grocery store and it's a paragraph and it's only supposed to be bread. They figure if you've been eating that for 50 years, then by the time you get 50, you're going to have some form of cardiovascular disease. That's why they call it a risk factor. Shame, right? Shameful. All right. So this last one is this brother. You probably know him as an internet sensation, Yaki Awake. He's not a doctor, but he gives such great information. And he does a good job at explaining things in layman's terms. The only difference in what he's saying, he did say that let me say it this way. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us to eat 1 meal a day between the hours of 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. Okay. His advice is a little bit different. So keep in mind what I'm talking about is based on the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But I do think that this is good information. And I do think that this is a way to help raise your awareness about how important it is for us to focus on our diet and being healthy. Because let me tell you, just keep those little sicknesses, they creep right up on you. So give me a thumbs up in the chat if this is helping you raise your awareness. And you don't have to be perfect. Everybody ain't perfect. So don't worry about that. But what I do want you to do is to start somewhere. So give me a thumbs up if this is raising your awareness. And if you can hear this and see this, say, yes, I can hear it.
One of people's biggest struggle when trying to eat healthy is the fresh taste of healthy foods and drinks. How can a person heal or recalibrate their palate that has been addicted to salt, sugar, and fried foods their entire life?
Fasting and diet diversity. That's what I would say. Fasting and diet diversity and detoxification. Usually to reset the palate and to reset the taste buds, usually bitters will happen. You know, you an island boy, so I know you understand what them bitters do. The bitters actually reset the mechanism of the palate. So I would say go on a fast. You don't even have to do long periods of fast. As you intermittent fasting, you know, eat between the hours of 12 to 6 every day. And when you eat in between those hours, wean yourself off of the addictions like the sugars and the salt potassium ratio, because that's how they get you addicted. They actually are messing with the melanin neural receptors of the brain. It's called the opiate receptors. That's your reward center. They know how to tweak these foods and create them like a drug, for they can actually attach themselves to the receptors. For you to feel like you're being rewarded for eating things that got sweet. Same thing as the epigenetic inheritance that we was talking, transgenerational epigenetic inheritance that we was talking about with the rats, where they were punishing them for smelling a sweet savor fragrance, right? Well, they doing us different. They're rewarding us for tasting and smelling these things, and they're tinkering with the salt, the sugar, and the fat ratio of the food, and it's acting like a drug. And these drugs are literally attaching themselves. They pass the blood and brain barrier, and they attach themselves to opiate receptors of the brain. So when you eating these things, even though you're not getting a fulfilling feeling from it, you have your reward centers are becoming open, so you're being rewarded with this taste. So now we're getting addicted to the taste. There's no difference between sugar cane and cocaine. In fact, sugar cane is more addictive than cocaine. You see what I'm saying? So I would say this: fasting. Once you fast or you go on intermittent fasting and you only fast between the hours of 1 to 6, as long as you fast in at least 16 hours a day. So your safe zone is when you get up, don't eat anything, just drink some water or drink some H3O2, which is freshly squeezed juice, right? The moment that the sun is as high as in the sky, which is around 12 p.m., it's called the circadian rhythm. You're supposed to eat with the sun, in the sun. Eat when the sun is the highest in the sky, around 12, and then don't eat nothing when the sun go down. I would say don't eat nothing after 6 p.m. But if you just now getting into this, eat with the sun and stop eating when the sun go down. While you're doing that, your body is going to automatically kick itself into a detoxification mechanism. Glutathione going to start kicking on, opening up something called the NRF2 pathways. This is going to open up all these different pathways in your cells, and it's going to start pushing all of those toxins and all of those different receptors out of the body by way of the liver. So now this is what stops your addiction. Now, how to help this process is resetting your mouth. The best way to reset your taste buds in your mouth is taking on bitters. Bitters. I call them low oxalates because they got high calcium in them, but there's not enough calcium in them to calcify the body or to calcify the pineal gland and stuff like that. I mean, the pineal gland. So low oxalates, stuff that's high in bioflavonoids, stuff that's high in biophotons, and these are literally your bitter barks or your bitter roots that come from anthocyanins, or what you would call it. Once these roots grow a flower, the flower turn a certain color. Look for things that grow colorful, like purple colors, yellow colors, red colors, and you eat the roots of these. Usually the roots of these things are very bitter. This will start detoxing the mouth. And once you start detoxing the mouth, you can reset your salivary glands. You can start producing something called amylase and trypsin. And these are alkalizing enzymes inside your mouth. So now your mouth will start getting watery, and you can cleanse up your mouth and get rid of all the bad bacteria that's in the mouth. That will actually reset the taste buds. Another thing is too, mind over matter. If you can go through that pain for just a little bit, because it's pain to people when they going on fasts, when they depriving themselves, because you literally can go through withdrawals, headaches, shivering, you can lose iron. People literally be going through withdrawals like they getting off of cocaine, or like they getting off of methamphetamine, or like they getting off of heroin when they stopping these things. Once you get over that hump though, you will see that your taste buds have reset themselves, and now the things that you used to hate actually taste good. So that's what I would do.
Facts.
All right, y'all. I hope we raised our awareness today. I'm not pushing you to be perfect, but you should be pushing yourself towards perfection. But you got to start somewhere. Okay? You got to start somewhere. Start focusing on your health. Start purchasing better foods. When you go to the store, read the label. If there's 20 things on there and it's just supposed to be one thing you're buying, and if it's a long word with so many syllables that you can't even pronounce it, put it down. Stay away from packaged, prepackaged, frozen, and canned foods. Stay away from restaurants that sell you this kind of stuff as well. Especially if you're a senior, if you got children in the household, stop eating these types of food. You got to stop. Because otherwise, We're dying too young. Too young. Dying 69, 79. Sometimes you see us and we looking like we 200 years old. We got to work on this. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us the formula. And this formula, he gave it to us. It works no matter what community you're in. So don't let nobody tell you that you can only listen to truth based on people that are not canceled that folks like. Listen, if you're smart, you learn how to build your own knowledge platform. I used to talk about this on my radio show all the time. Take information from wherever you find it that will work for you, put it in your knowledge platform, and let that become how you build the foundation for how you run your life. Don't let somebody tell you, oh, because we don't like that person, everything he says, you got to discount it. Or everything she says, you got to discount it because that's her relative or because she knows that person. Don't listen, get off of that. Because if you stay on that, you're going to keep dying. We're going to keep dying from all of these diseases that are unnecessary. And I'll tell you one last thing. Brother Ronald said, be mindful of eating out so much. Yes. And if you do, and I say this because a lot of people are going through a lot of mental health issues. They use eating as a way of socializing with people. And that's good. But try cooking at home sometime. And if you do decide to go out, find restaurants that serve you whole foods. Stop going to places and ordering and paying for plastic and ingesting it as if it's food. And stop running your children through these daggone drive-through restaurants. This is causing autism. It's causing all kinds of diseases in there. And when you couple that with the vaccinations and all the things that they're getting, we're wondering why they can't learn and why they're on the prison to pipeline track, the school to prison pipeline track, starting at 3 and 4 years old. It's true and it's real. Okay. All it takes is for you to volunteer one time in a hospital. And I suggest that a lot of people do that. If you know a doctor or you know a program where you can go and volunteer in a hospital, it'll get you straight. Trust me, it'll get you straight. Because when you start looking at people's date of birth and you see their date of birth is the same as yours or maybe younger, and you see them laying in that bed and what has happened to them, look, you're gonna go home and get yourself together. When I see them and they have to operate on somebody and the person is so big that they have to tape their belly to one side of the bed, I remember seeing that and I didn't eat for 2 days. So it's real. And I remember I was at a point where I had gained weight from a lot of stress. When I was going through this, I started looking at that. I started getting into CrossFit and boot camps. I was working out twice a day sometime. In the morning, going to boot camp and running and jumping and lifting weights. And in the evening, going on long walks just to keep my heart rate and all of that stuff up. I mean, it's real. All right, family. So with that, I hope that we raise your awareness today on this coffee talk. Tomorrow, we're having coffee talk 6 a.m. tomorrow. I don't know what we're going to talk about yet. If you want to talk about something, then just DM me. Make a suggestion. Otherwise, we'll just see what Allah downloads and what he wants to talk about. Anyway, look, love offering, Cash App, Sajdah Enterprises. You just got a whole health consultation at no charge to you. So give something back to the platform for bringing this good and healthy information. This kind of stuff oftentimes is not monetized on YouTube. They're not trying to do it. Okay. I just told y'all about the death threats and stuff like that we would face just trying to help and heal our people. You already know that this good old internet on here is not going to spread this information either. All right. I love you all. I appreciate you all. I wish each and every one of you more goodness than you could ever receive or imagine, more peace, more love, more connection with your source. Anything good in your life, listen, I wish you all the best. And I love each and every one of you. And I thank you for your continued support. And I just want to leave with this. Not only are we going to eat to live today, but we're going to be more empathetic and more loving and more merciful towards one another. Somebody makes a mistake, give them a minute. Take a look at some of the good that they've done and see what you can do to support and help. Let's be a community. Let's love one another. Let's not treat each other like predators all the time. All right. Peace and blessings, family.